Hello, everybody, and it is that time of the NFL week. It is week 16. This is predictions. I went 12-4 last week, which was better than I remembered, or at least I thought I was going to be going on Sunday because I did not remember fully what my predictions were. But 12-4, not bad. So before diving into it, quickly say subscribe if you're new. Really appreciate it. Leave a like, comment down below. You know the whole YouTube drill. So Thursday Night Football, the Denver Broncos at 9-5 make the trip to play the Los Angeles Chargers, who are 8-6 and 3-point favorites. I'm kind of shocked the Chargers are favored in this game purely because their offense is not as good as I thought they're going to be this season, and especially not as good as they were earlier on in the season, in part because of the J.K. Dobbins injury. That is a massive loss to this Chargers team, and because of it, they find themselves in quite a predicament. The Denver Broncos have been playing well, but last week was a kind of rough showing against the Colts. But the Broncos defense is a very opportunistic defense. Nick Bonito has been playing incredibly well with multiple touchdowns to his name this season. Been a complete surprise performance this year. And this Denver defense is a top tier defense in the league. Same with the Chargers. So this could very easily be a low scoring affair. I do have the Denver Broncos winning this game. I think their offense will be able to get enough done, but I'm really basing this off the fact that I like their defense more against this very weakened Chargers offense than I do the Chargers defense against a very kind of unpredictable Broncos offense. So I have Denver winning Thursday Night Football. The first of two Saturday games for the NFL this week, the Houston Texans at 9-5 make the trip to Kansas City, who are 13-1 and 2.5-point favorites. My thing with the Chiefs is Mahomes is going to be playing most likely. He was a full participant in practice on Tuesday, and that is all we really know at the point of this recording. But it is expected he is going to play because it is Mahomes, and even big injuries to him are very minimal, it seems. The Houston Texans are just not a good team. They won the AFC South. They're 9-5, but there's so many of those games that they've won that they should have lost. But their defense has come in big for them this season. And that's going to be an interesting show. It is really a battle of Texans defense versus Chiefs defense. I do not trust the Houston Texans offense though at all, so I do have the Chiefs winning this game. Even Mahomes on a half healthy leg is an incredible player. We saw that in the playoffs 2 years ago when they went on the Super Bowl run with him having the high ankle sprain. And he, according to Mahomes himself, it seems that this is not as serious. So I think Mahomes will be as close to 100% as he could be. I still have the Chiefs winning nonetheless. Their devil magic will probably come in clutch. The final Saturday game is between the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 10-4, making a trip to Baltimore, who are 9-5 and 6.5-point favorites. This spread feels way, way too big, in my opinion. In part because the last time these two teams played, it was a really defensive focused game. The Steelers had the Ravens number pretty effectively and really well. So I'm shocked that people are expecting the Ravens to A, win, and B, by a full touchdown, basically. I like what Lamar's doing. I like what Derrick Henry's doing. I like this Ravens team a lot. But the truth of the matter is the Steelers just have their number. I do have the Steelers winning this game. I don't think it will be a pretty game by any means. I think this could be a very gritty AFC North showdown. But when those gritty games come to light, it's a defensive-minded game. And is a game of just trying to limit mistakes. And I feel like Mike Tomlin's going to be able to do that better, as he has shown in the past against the Baltimore Ravens. So give me the Pittsburgh Steelers. From one AFC North showdown to another, as the Cleveland Browns at 3-11 make the trip to Cincinnati, who are 6-8 and 7.5-point favorites. This is an interesting game, very similar in the fact that same way that the Steelers have the Ravens number, the Browns have had the Bengals number the past few years. But both teams are at a very different state of mind from this meeting compared to meetings of past. So I don't know how much the past is really going to show itself this time around. I do really like the Bengals offense, obviously, and the Browns are going to be starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson against a very bad Bengals defense. And Cleveland's defense is still a good defensive unit. Nonetheless, I do have the Bengals winning this game, in part because it feels like it's going to be a shootout. It feels like this is going to be a shootout of some kind. And when a shootout happens, I'm going to lean towards Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase over Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Jerry Jeudy. So give me the Cincinnati Bengals. The New York Giants at 2-12 make the trip to the Atlanta Falcons, who are 7-7 and 9.5-point favorites. The Falcons are also going to be starting Michael Penix Jr. for this game. He gets his very first start in what is a very good game to have their first start in. So I made these predictions before the news came out, but I don't think my opinion is really going to change of this game. I do not like the Giants at all this season, to probably no one's surprise. I had faith in them earlier on, but it's just been a complete disaster. And now they're entering the tank bowls, where they're trying to get the #1 overall pick. So I do have the Atlanta Falcons winning this game. And I think the game plan for the Falcons in this is very simple. Make it easy for Penix. Give it to Bijan Robinson, give it to Kyle Pitts, give it to Drake London, give it to Darnell Mooney in very easy and simple ways. Don't complicate things. You don't need to complicate things against the New York Giants. Keep it simple, get Penix comfortable, get him his first win in his first start, and go from there. I think he'll be feeling well for the future. So I do have the Atlanta Falcons. The Detroit Lions at 12-2 and 6.5-point favorites make the trip to the Chicago Bears, who are 4-10. Last time these two teams played was on Thanksgiving, and it was a weird game. It was a game that pretty much got Matt Eberflus fired. So now these teams get to see each other again with Thomas Brown as interim head coach. The Lions have 22 players on IR, injured to high hell, coming off of a disappointing loss to the Buffalo Bills, a game that which they had a chance in, but again, just the injuries kind of came back to bite them. But it's against the Chicago Bears this time. I don't think injuries will be that important. Although losing David Montgomery is a massive sting, I do still have the Detroit Lions nonetheless. Dan Campbell would get them right. I think they still have good depth pieces to make it so. While yes, they have a lot of people injured, it won't be felt too much. It'll still be felt, don't get me wrong, but it won't be felt in a way that like Miami's injuries are being felt at that right tackle position, where it's very noticeable. It will be noticeable, but really from a minor level, especially against the Chicago Bears. Against future teams on the schedule, it's a different story. But it's the Chicago Bears in Chicago. One of two outdoor games the Lions will be playing this season, most likely. So I do have the Detroit Lions winning this game. The Tennessee Titans at 3-11 make the trip to the Indianapolis Colts, who are 6-8 and 3.5-point favorites. The Colts are right there in the playoff hunt. They are 2 games back of the Los Angeles Chargers, and they are playing well and feeling well. Even though they had that really tough loss to the Denver Broncos last week, it was a game that kind of just nothing fully went their way. But defensively, they were playing well until the second half, and then things kind of got blown apart. The Tennessee Titans are a complete mess. They're also tanking right now, but they're not. It doesn't feel like they're tanking in the same ways that other teams are tanking, in which that they have a clear future afterwards. I don't know what Tennessee does going forward. They're a very interesting team to keep an eye on, but they're definitely going to be trying to get a high draft pick. So I do have the Indianapolis Colts winning in this game, and it's more so the fact that Colts have a lot more to play for. They're hopefully going to be showing up with some energy, and Tennessee right now is trying to find a better path forward than Will Levis or Mason Rudolph, and the best way to do it is to get a top 5 pick. So I think they're going to be looking to lose. So give me an Indianapolis Colts. The Los Angeles Rams at 8-6 and 3-point favorites make the trip to MetLife Stadium. They play the New York Jets, who are 4-10. The Jets got a win against the Jacksonville Jaguars last week, but it was by no means a good win. It was a very tough game that, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets offense played really well in, but their defense did not play well in, giving up 26 points. It was not a great game. Meanwhile, the Rams got the win against the 49ers in what was an ugly showing, at least on the points wise. But looking at how the players played, Puka Nacua had a great game, Kyren Williams had a great game, and the offense was moving the ball pretty well down the field. They just couldn't finish drives. I think they'll have a much better showing against this New York Jets defense, who's been a very big letdown this season for the Jets. So I do have the Los Angeles Rams winning, and I expect Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and I expect the skill positions for the Rams to be able to get going very effectively and very easily. Especially when we look at what this Jets defense just showed against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a tough team to give up a lot of points for. So yeah, give me the Los Angeles Rams. The Philadelphia Eagles have a chance to clinch the NFC East this week as they're 12-2 and 3.5 point favorites head into the Washington Commanders, who are 9-5. Last time these two teams played, it was on Thursday Night Football a few weeks back, and it was the Saquon Barkley show in that second half. He sealed the game, but it wasn't a pretty game by any means for the Eagles. Missed a few kicks, Jalen Hurts wasn't playing well, and Washington had many opportunities to run away with that game, but the Eagles defense came up big. Washington's coming off of a pretty solid win against the New Orleans Saints. The score was 20-19, but that score does not tell the full story of that game. And the Eagles are coming off of a good win against the Pittsburgh Steelers, of which the score also does not tell that full story. Especially in the second half, the Eagles were completely dominating the Pittsburgh Steelers. Multiple 15-plus play drives, completely just killing clock against them, and taking advantage of a weakened Steelers defense due to TJ Watt missing some of that second half. Well, this is going to be an interesting show, and I do have the Philadelphia Eagles winning this game, and it's going to come down to Saquon Barkley and that defense once again. Well, I do like what we saw from the Eagles passing game last week against the Steelers. I don't know how much of a factor it will properly be in this game, in part just because that the Eagles are going to the Eagles defense is going to be playing down much better against this Commanders offense. And Saquon Barkley is going to have another good game after a relatively lackluster game for him specifically last week, although it was still a good game nonetheless for a running back. I do have the Philadelphia Eagles winning this game. The Arizona Cardinals, at 7-5 and 4.5 point favorites, make the trip to the Carolina Panthers, who are 3-11. The Cardinals are a relatively weird team this year. It feels like they should be playing better than the record shows, but at the same time, it feels like that record is just about right. They're a middle-of-the-road team that sits at 500, and it just feels nice. The Carolina Panthers are a team that have definitely been overperforming the past few weeks, but had a very tough loss to the Dallas Cowboys last week at home, in a game that they were actually favored in last week for the first time in like 34 games. And they blew the opportunity with a pretty bad loss. Well, Arizona is not going to be any easier than the Dallas Cowboys, especially because of the fact that Kyler Murray's mobility, I feel like, is going to cause some troubles. I do have the Cardinals winning this game. And a lot of it does come down to the fact that Kyler Murray is not going to be an easy ask for this Carolina defense to defend. His mobility, the way he can throw the ball, he is a really, really good quarterback, and there's a reason he got paid like 2 off seasons ago. So I do just have the Cardinals being a better team and winning this game on the road. The Minnesota Vikings, at 12-2 and 3.5 point favorites, make the trip to the Seattle Seahawks, who are 8-6. This game very much intrigues me. I don't fully know what to expect out of Minnesota this week. They played an all-right game against Chicago. For the first half, it was a relatively close game, but then they started running away in the second half, and that's kind of the main thing you're looking for. I do really like what Minnesota has shown this season defensively, what Sam Darnold has shown this year, and it should be the case that Kevin O'Connell gets the Coach of the Year, but we'll see come the NFL honors. Seattle had a tough loss against the Packers last week on Sunday Night Football, and now they sit tied with the Rams for first place in that division. This is going to be an interesting final 3 games, and the Seahawks do not have an easy schedule, including this game. Plus, I don't fully know the status on Geno Smith at the time of this recording, so that is definitely something taken into account. Nonetheless, though, I don't think it would have mattered. I have the Minnesota Vikings winning this game. I think their defense will be too much for the Seahawks offense, and I think the Vikings offense will be able to handle the noise level of Lumen Field pretty well, especially Aaron Jones and that ground game. So I do have the Minnesota Vikings winning this game. The New England Patriots, at 3-11, make the trip to the Buffalo Bills, who are 11-3 and 14.5 point favorites, the largest point spread of this week. And I completely understand why. For as much as I feel like the future is bright in New England with Drake May, it has not shown this season, and it was never supposed to show this season. The Patriots are in prime position to get a high-value draft pick and draft a really high-value receiver to pair with Drake May, or they might go offensive line. We'll see what the decision is. But either way, the Patriots are in a perfect opportunity to build this team for the future through the draft. Meanwhile, Buffalo is looking like the best team in the NFL, and this very well might be the only potential season they have to make a legitimate run to the Super Bowl. And I'm saying this because the Chiefs do not look as good as they have in the past, but they're still winning games. The Lions are banged up to high hell, and there's a real chance that the Vikings sneak their way into the Super Bowl. And I feel like Buffalo is leagues better than what the Vikings have shown this year. This is the season for Buffalo. I really like what I'm seeing. Josh Allen is playing at an MVP level. I do have Buffalo winning this game. It's at home against a weakened Patriots team, and a Patriots team that is again looking to get a high value pick in the draft. But I do have the Buffalo Bills winning this game. The Tank Bowl of the week sees the Jacksonville Jaguars at 3-11, making the trip to the Las Vegas Raiders, who are 2-12 and 1.5-point favorites. This is the tank off. This game is not going to be a good game. I have no idea what to expect from this game. This is either going to be a shootout or a 3-0 finish. I feel bad for anyone who's actually going to be watching this game. I don't have a full lot to say about this one. Both teams had relatively tough losses the previous week. The Raiders to the Falcons, they lost by 6. The Jaguars to the Jets, they lost by 6, but it was vastly different losses by 6. Again, I have no idea which side to pick. On my sheet in front of me, I have highlighted the Raiders, but I'm going to change that real quick. I'm going with the Jacksonville Jaguars, purely because of the performance they had against the Jets. But again, I have zero idea for this game. This was a very last minute switch to pick Jacksonville. This game is going to be ugly. It's going to be bad. It is the Tank Bowl. And one of these teams is going to need to ruin their draft stock in order to win this game. And I feel like the Raiders cannot afford to not have a top 2 pick. So give me the Jacksonville Jaguars. The San Francisco 49ers at 6-8 make the trip to the Miami Dolphins, who are also 6-8 and 1.5-point favorites. The Dolphins' season at this point is pretty much over. They have a very low chance of getting into the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Niners can still theoretically win their division, but it'll be a long hill to climb. This is a weird state for this game. Before the season, this game looked like it was going to be an amazing game. 2 high-powered teams fighting for their divisions or fighting for a top playoff spot. And now, all of a sudden, both teams are probably not going to make the playoffs, and this game is relatively meaningless. Nonetheless, I am a Dolphin fan, so I'm going to pick Miami to win this game. But it's still, one of these teams is not going to finish above 500 because of this game, most likely. And I feel like Miami needs to finish the season strong, especially a lot stronger than what the Niners need to finish the season strong, or how the Niners should look at finishing the season strong. This is a tough year for both teams. Very underwhelming, very disappointing. This game is going to be one of the games of the week. It's something. Give me the Miami Dolphins to win this one. Sunday Night Football is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 8-6 and 3.5-point favorites, making a trip to the Dallas Cowboys, who are 6-8. This is going to be an interesting game. The Buccaneers had a good win against the Chargers last week. Good win. It was a great win against the Chargers last week. A 40-17 win. Meanwhile, the Dallas Cowboys at 6-8. Their season has been a disappointment as well, and they had a good win against the Carolina Panthers. But for the most part, again, this is not a season that they are looking for, or that they were looking to have. The Buccaneers are a game above the Falcons in that division race, and Tampa, they handled the injuries well. They just needed to survive the games that Mike Evans missed, and they definitely did get help in doing that through the Falcons just not playing well. But this is still a good game. I like the Tampa defense. I like Tampa's offense. We saw that Dallas struggled against the Bengals a few weeks back on Monday Night Football, in part because the Bengals have a much better offense than some of the teams that the Cowboys have played against in the past few weeks. Tampa's a very similar boat. They have a much better offense than the Panthers, than the Giants, and arguably the Commanders, but that's a different story entirely. So I do have the Buccaneers winning this game on Sunday Night Football, a big-time game to keep the lead in the division, as the Buccaneers are going to need to constantly stay a game ahead of Atlanta if they want to get that playoff spot. So give me the Buccaneers. The final game of the week, Monday Night Football, the New Orleans Saints at 5-9 make the trip to the Green Bay Packers, who are 10-4 and 13.5-point favorites. Why this game was not flexed out on Monday Night Football, I have no idea, but here we are. The Packers coming off of a good win against the Seahawks last week. The Saints, a tough loss to the Commanders last week. Both teams on very opposite sides of the spectrum. The Packers didn't really have to rebuild, but they are sitting really good with a very young roster looking to make a dangerous splash this season and be a dangerous threat to a lot of teams. The Saints feel like they're about to enter a rebuild, but they have been in purgatory the past few years since Drew Brees left, and is continuing to show at this point. I have the Green Bay Packers winning this game. Again, they are the sneaky Cinderella team this year, which doesn't even feel right to say because they're 10-4 and have been dominating games. But they're going to probably be the 6th seed in the NFC playoffs this year. So yeah, they're the Cinderella team. They're the dark horse. They could easily make a run to the Super Bowl, especially with how banged up the Lions are and kind of just how weird the rest of the rest of the conference is at this point. I really like the Packers. This is their easiest game remaining on the schedule, so I'm interested to see how it goes going forward. So give me the Green Bay Packers. Well, there you have it. My predictions for Week 16 of the NFL season. Thank you all for tuning in. You know the whole YouTube spiel. I won't waste your time with it again. See you all next time. Have yourselves a damn good one. Peace.